Hello, this is Bill Mosley, Otis from the Firefly Trilogy, Chop Top from Texas Chainsaw 2, and you're listening to Don't Go Out There, a horror movie podcast. And hunting humans ain't nothing but nothing. They all run like scared little rabbits. Run, rabbit, run. Run, rabbit, run, rabbit. Okay, so keep listening to the fabulous one and only Don't Go Out There horror movie podcast. Thanks.
In a world where zombies, ghosts, serial killers, and vampires all exist, it's Nico, Brian, Mike, and Dustin, and they are all that stand between you and the films that could end the world. Welcome to the Don't Go Out There horror movie podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Don't Go Out There horror movie review podcast. Just want to thank all our fans and listeners. Really appreciate all support. You guys are awesome. Before we get into tonight's film review, I just want to give a quick shout out to our website, don'tgoouthere.com. Brian's done a fantastic job setting that up. All of our episodes and interviews are on there. If you want to check those out from episode 1 to the newest release, we got all of our episodes there. We've done several interviews in the past. If you want to find those a lot easier than going through iTunes or Spotify, go to our interviews tab. We got our store. We got some new merch, new t-shirts. We got Shan's Etsy page attached. You want to grab a tumbler, so check out our website for that. We also have more on our website. We got a new tab where our biggest fans have wrote reviews for just how big of fans they are. We really appreciate that. And we also have all of our social media links: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Like us, subscribe us, follow us, all that good stuff. We love interacting with our fans. We have a ton of fan comments and questions tonight. And we're looking forward to answering those questions and reading those comments. So we really appreciate that. Last thing I want to shout out on our website is our Patreon. We call it Blood Donors. We have the traditional monthly reoccurring kind. Takes a big burden off of us. It helps us make a decent sounding podcast. And none of that money goes into our pockets, just into the show. Fully acknowledge how tough times are. So if you can't do that right now, I totally understand. And we also have a one-time donation. If you're a big fan of a movie, you want us to review it, we have that tier available as well. Tonight we're closing out 31 month, as we call it. The past few years on this show, we've done 31 rankings on, near the end of October for Halloween, big franchises. And tonight is Brother Dustin's pick. Go ahead with your pick announcement.
Yeah. So when we decided upon, hey, let's do a 31 on 31 preview month, like I mentioned at the end of our last episode, I had some ideas. I was like, I want to do Paranormal Activity 3 because I think that one's a pretty good movie. But also, it's no secret, I'm a Rob Zombie fan. I like Rob Zombie, the artist. I like Rob Zombie, the creative mind. I like Rob Zombie, the horror movie mind. So I decided to go with House of a Thousand Corpses tonight at the dismay of Nico. I know that he wasn't too fond of Three from Hell, so I was kind of standoffish about picking this one. He didn't like Devil's Rejects either, but I think it's nice. We did this franchise, this trilogy in a weird order. We went 2, 3, and then we're finally doing 1, and that's a very weird order when it comes to this trilogy in particular, because it's a very I won't say well revered, but it has a very cult like following. This trilogy does, and that all started because of this movie in particular. So yeah, I chose House of a Thousand Corpses, and I'm excited to do my best Jon Snow impression and defend it tonight.
All right, I'll go next real quick, Mike. I think Dustin pretty much said it. I'll go. I mean, I'm not a big fan, honestly, at all. But I'm not really a big fan of any of Rob Zombie's movies that I've seen. I mean, even the Halloweens, they're okay. But, I mean, the second half of the first Halloween is just John Carpenter's basically remake. I will say, I put in our group text, this movie on our rewatch, it had me, pretty much invested with Captain Spaulding in the beginning. I think Sid Haig is fantastic in this.
Yeah.
Bill Mosley is great as well, but he's just, I don't know. I like him better in Devil's Rejects. I feel like that outlaw look kind of fits him better than this little, I don't know, what kind of, I don't even know how to describe him, like satanic guy. I don't even know, but he does great in this job, in this role as well. It's just, everything else about it, just I'm not a fan of. And friend of the show, Horrible Reviews, he's reviewed these movies on his YouTube channel. The characters just all pretty much annoy me. The movie looks terrible, honestly, with a lot of this grainy look and this. I don't even know how to describe this. Like it's like looks purple and I don't know. It looks like infrared or something. I'm just not a fan of it.
That's fair, but you do know that's intentional, right? Like
I don't care if it's intentional. I don't like it.
Okay, that's fair. But like if a shot or a movie looks like shit and they were trying their best, that's one thing. But like when it switches to the granular, that's intentional. It's a directorial style. Whether it's for you or not, that's fine. It's not necessarily for me either, but okay.
At least you tried. All right, before you go, Mike, I'll just end it here. And I think this is a fun fact we all know. In 2014, even Rob Zombie himself said after rewatching this, he appreciates the cult following, but even he's not a fan of this. So, I mean, if he's not a fan, why should I be? Mike, go ahead.
All right. First of all, sip of this Crown Peach and Sprite in honor of our brother J Mac. Now I can do this. Okay. Yes, sir. UEP. All right. So I'm a bigger fan of this franchise than Nico is, but there's just something about Rob Zombie's movies that I can't ever quite pin down if I like it, if I don't like it. Like there's a few that I'm like, this movie stinks. I think 31 stinks. Like I don't think it's any good at all. Then there's Lords of Salem where I'm like, okay, well that's pretty good. It's a pretty good film. And with Devil's Rejects is the one that I actually genuinely do enjoy. I like Devil's Rejects. It's like a really fun it's like a modern cowboy movie to me for some reason. Like I just really, really like it. Three from Hell I could throw away. Here's what I think about this movie. It's entertaining and intriguing up until about the last 34 minutes. And then I think it completely shits down its leg and it's pretty fucking terrible. I mean, honestly, once our main characters are captured and trapped and killed, like I think the movie starts to go downhill. Now, some positives. I think Sid Haig is wonderful as Captain Spaulding. Like he's so good as that character in both of the movies that he plays it in, but in this movie in particular, just I think he's so quick-witted and deceptively evil. I just love the character. So, in this movie, I've complained about Rob Zombie's dialogue before. And that's only because it was Halloween movies. And to me, some of that stuff just doesn't fit with what the idea I have for Halloween in my head. In these movies, I don't mind because these are Rob Zombie's universe. These, all of this comes straight out of his head. And I like, the dialogue works for me with these characters. Now, to Nico's point, I think this movie looks like ass, even the good stuff or the stuff that's not supposed to. There's something about that music video style that he keeps cutting back and forth to that I just can't stand. Like I can't stand when it cuts to that kind of shit. Not the granular footage that looks like it's just from a 1998 camcorder. Like that looks fine. Like that stuff doesn't bother me as much as the music video aesthetic that we get and the like cuts back and forth to that style of direct. So again, it's a stylistic choice. If you like it, that's great. I don't like it. It takes me completely out of it. But there's some stuff here that I like. I just think the last 30 to 35 minutes completely poops all over everything that came before. Like it really bugs me how shitty it gets really fast. Also, shout out to Bill Mosley. My man fucking kills it in his role as Otis as well. Mm-hmm. I'm going to do something that's probably unpopular on the internet. I'm going to shout out Sherry Moon Zombie for one reason. Actually, don't
give me that, Nico.
Hold on. I'm going to shout out him and her, Rob and Sherry Moon. Man, if you love your wife and she loves you and you two enjoy making fucking movie magic together, then I think that's great. Like I don't think she's good as Baby in this movie.
And Pamela Lee.
But not that kind of movie magic. Oh. That one kind of, destroyed her life. But anyway, we'll talk about that another time. But I give them credit, man. They're a power couple in my mind. If they decide, hey, if Rob Rob has made a name for himself. If he decides he wants to put his wife in every movie, then who the hell am I to tell him he can't do that?
They weren't even married at the time. They had just started dating at the time of this movie was filmed. So what I'll say though, I agree with what you're saying. What both of you guys saying about the switch back and forth between like the negative footage and the you know, everything and the granular. It's a choice.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I necessarily like it.
Yeah.
But what I will say is that I do commend Rob Zombie for taking a chance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because like, name someone else that's done something like this and then went on to make more movies, and not only make more movies, but like got the rights to take over a very popular and well-revered franchise like Halloween, and then go on down the road to take over the rights to the Munsters. Like he took a chance and didn't care what happened. Didn't even know, honestly, at the time this movie was made, he didn't even know the direction that this was going to be a trilogy. So I respect the choice. I said it at the end of last week when I was, announced the pick this week. This movie feels like you're watching a Rob Zombie music video while tripping acid.
Yeah.
And, his music videos are supposed to be over the top. This is like if you combined a music video with a 70s to early 80s B horror movie, and just went like, okay, this is good, but how can we make it even more over the top? And I respect the hell, like that's the thing. Whether you like it or not is almost besides the point. Right. You almost have to respect someone just like saying, I'm doing this.
Yep.
I don't care if you like it. I'm doing this because this is what I want to do. Because anyone can conform and make something that everyone else is making. So that's all I'll say about the directorial style. Now, I will say, though, and I said it last week, and I will always say this, I do wish that he knew what his end game was for this family. And I think that he was figuring it out along the way, like after this movie was made, because the realism that we got in The Devil's Rejects and Three from Hell, if this movie and this storyline was made with that realistic aspect, this movie would be so much better, quote unquote better, because a lot of people love this movie. But that's what turns a lot of people off to, is just how over the top it was, not necessarily the movie or the storyline.
Well, Dustin, the first hour and 2 minutes of this movie is that. Like it does a good job of staying in the same vein as Devil's Rejects and even Three from Hell to an extent. Then it just kind of, what the hell is going on here?
That's when the beat kicks in, man. You start tripping.
I was going to say, it's like being on acid. It really is. I just watched I spent some of the day watching the Netflix documentary on Woodstock 99. Brother, it looks like Rob Zombie directed that thing personally. That shit was fucking bananas. So to watch those things back to back today, I was like, is this directed by the same person? Feels directed by the same person. And that was a shit show. But I will say, I agree with you 100%, Dustin. I commend Rob for having his own flavor and own style and sticking with it no matter what anybody says.
It goes Universal is who wanted him to make this movie, and then they said, whoa, we can't release this. And he's like, okay, fine. He didn't change shit. He just went and sought out other production companies to release it, and Lionsgate eventually said, okay, we'll do it. And so, like, think about that, especially at the time, 2000, when this movie was made. Right. Think about turning down Universal and be like, oh, you know what, I'll find another avenue, and then settle on Lionsgate, who was really unknown at the time.
Right.
Like, he stood 10 toes down for what he believed in and what he wanted to do. You got to respect it.
I absolutely do. I just don't. I think this is it's an incomplete movie to me for some reason. Like there's just something that like, it's almost like, all right, we're going to turn this switch down and it becomes a different movie than it was the first hour. And it just kind of bugs me because I feel like there's some fun stuff here and they just kind of shit all over themselves.
And honestly, like it's like, I was trying to tell someone about this movie not that long ago, and they were like, what's it? Describe it to me. And I described the plot line, but I was like, that's not enough really to truly understand what this movie's like. Is like, imagine the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original, like 1974.
Yeah.
Imagine that movie had a baby with natural born killers.
Yep.
The Woody Harrelson movie.
Yeah.
Because that one had a lot of stylistic changes as well, like color and negative lighting and all that stuff. If those two movies had a baby while they're both tripping acid high on peyote, it's House of a Thousand Corpses.
The big ones are 50. The little ones are 25. And sorry, I always quote Dave Chappelle at least once a day. All right.
Before we get into the scene by scene, I just want to say, like, I don't have a problem with like the camcorder look like of like when Otis is doing Run Rabbit Run, nothing like that. But
Yeah.
Denise's vision with the skunk ape, why is that in there? Or
Oh,
the
there's a
black
lot of
guy with
stuff.
the guy with the gun? Like, what is the point of that?
Now
And then
the storylines got cut, right?
and then just the sheriffs and the other, or not the sheriff, but the cops driving up, and it's in that like Predator heat seat look. Like, why? It just doesn't look good. So I mean, it's just, I respect Rob Zombie for sticking to his guns.
I think that some of those were done for like shock value, like just to shock the system, be like, this looks different, just just keep you awake and keep you like, what the fuck's going on? And some of those were done because like the granular, the ultra granular, like Otis's Run Rabbit Run, when Sherry Moon Zombie, when baby's giggling and all that stuff in a weird costume, all that stuff was filmed after production was wrapped. Rob Zombie filmed all that in his basement with the cast members with a handheld camera.
Right.
And so
thing at the beginning with Sid Haig. Yep.
Yeah. And so I do agree. And Mike, you touched on it. I want to see that unreleased director's cut because I truly will never see it.
Yeah.
There was one screening of it at a film festival that, people have raved about for 20 years now, 19, whatever. But I want to see that if we could, because I really feel like it would answer so many questions that people have about this movie, but we'll just never know because that's how creative genius works. Rob Zombie made it and then forgot.
Yep. And one more thing before we go, just remember what horror was when Rob started making this movie. It was all Scream, all I Know What You Did Last Summer, all those teen kind of slasher movies that are meta. And we give Saw a lot of credit for being the first one to kind of buck that trend. But in reality, Rob Zombie made this movie 3 years prior. So he was tired of seeing it. There were people at Lionsgate that were tired of seeing it. So they decided to go with something different. So again, I always respect someone who's a visionary. Whether I agree or like that vision is complete. Ari Aster's a visionary. I don't like everything he does either.
And even Bill Mosley said it. Like, he said that he was thankful to take this role to see something that was so different than, like, as he said, an actual horror movie as opposed to what we've been seeing lately out of the genre at the time this movie's made. So you're 100% right. It's not for everyone. I get that. I'm about to bring this average way the fuck up. Let's do it.
So is Bill Mosley saying Scream's not horror? Anywho, let's move on to the scene by scene.
Don't do that. We respect Bill Mosley and Wes Craven on this podcast. That's what we do.
That's true, but we really want Bill Mosley to come on the show.
We do.
So,
he'd be great.
When he comes on, I am going to call all of you out for your shitting on Texas Chainsaw 2. Don't think I won't.
Oh, that movie's ass, but he's great in it.
The movie's just terrible.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Anywho, let's jump to the scene by scene. As if you're listening, Brother Brian couldn't make it tonight. He's too busy being rich and taking his family on vacation. I'm sure
happy birthday, Liam. He's about to make like a 3-tweet long thread about why that's bullshit after he hears this episode.
Actually, he's just going to cut this. We know how Brian is.
No, he's going to have his assistant type that 3-tweet thread. So let's go.
All right, let's get into the scene by scene. The film starts with, and the beginning has a lot of dialogue, so if I don't get it all right, I deeply apologize to the Firefly trilogy.
Well, you should have wrote it all down, you chuckle fuck. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. The film starts with Dr. Wolfenstein, creature feature show in black and white. Stay tuned for the Halloween Eve movie marathon. October 30th, 1977. We now see Captain Spaulding, who invites us to his Museum of Monsters and Madness. He's got fried chicken, monster rides, and an alligator boy. We're now outside the museum, and this clown is laughing and talking creepily. We're now inside with Spaulding and Stuckey, who are talking about trading some nude photos. Spaulding can't understand why he hangs out with this crazy guy. Stuckey now tells him of how he uses a pencil in his eyeball and got a Planet of the Apes doll stuck up his ass. Stuckey gets the bathroom key, and two masked robbers enter the building. Killer Carl and Richard Wick. Carl sends Wick after Stuckey, and Spaulding says he ought to bash their balls in. Carl sticks a gun in his face as he puts chicken up in his face. He says he might let Spaulding live if he cooperates. He counts to 10, and Spaulding says, "Fuck your mama, your sister, your grandma, as Stucky makes fun of little Dick Wick. Another guy in a giant mask runs in and hits Carl with an axe, and Spaulding shoots Wick in the head. Spaulding now towers Carl, and most of all, fuck you, shooting him, killing him. And I thought this little line in black was great. Goddamn motherfucker got blood all over my best clown suit. A Rob Zombie film, House of a Thousand Corpses. We get opening credits now in, I think it's 9mm, could be 16, to a rock song with naked women, Halloween images, and surgeries being performed. We now meet Bill, Mary, Jerry, and Denise. They're all in a car driving, and Bill notices how low on gas they are. Bill is bitching at Jerry for not putting enough gas in the car and not contributing driving. They see a sign for Captain Spaulding's gas station. They make it, and Bill begins to pump gas, and Jerry runs out saying, "It's so, boss. We got to wake up the girls and check it out." Spaulding is mopping up the blood, and Bill asks about the hairless monkey and tells Jerry of the alligator boy. Bill asks, how long's he owned this place? He thinks it's awesome. Bill says he isn't that much of a Western fan. He's a science fiction fan. Spaulding asks why he's asking so many jackassy questions. Bill says he and his friends are writing a book on all the weird things as they drive along the country. Spaulding now says they think us country folks grew real funny like, huh? Bill apologizes and Spaulding says, gotcha. Jerry tells Denise they got tickets for the murder ride and the ladies are hesitant, but they all get on the ride. Spaulding now takes them on the ride. We're going to have a good time now. He shows them Albert Fish, the murderer and cannibal. He now talks about Mr. Ed Gein. This ride has some terrifying sights. He now tells them of the local hero, Dr. Satan, murderer, torturer, and surgeon. He thought he could make a race of superhumans from the mentally ill. Spaulding says the tree he was hung in is just a stone's throw away from where they sit. Tour is over as they exit the ride. Jerry says that was so badass. Dr. Satan! Then Denise says she's going to go call her dad before they leave. We now see trick-or-treating going on as Don Willis answers his phone to talk to her. She tells him of stopping at Spaulding's, and he says they better hurry and get here. We see on the news about 5 missing cheerleaders. Jerry asks Spaulding more about this tree. I live for this shit. Spaulding draws him a map and gives him his complimentary chicken and tells him to leave. All right, Mike, that's the opening set of scenes I got. What'd you think?
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed this part of the film. I think there's some good stuff here that reminds me of that Devil's Rejects, kind of through line that I love so much. I like this, or the cold opening here. That's like that really old throwback style, horror show that you get. And I, like that it's in black and white. And I like that it, they kind of mess up Steen and Stein, which Dead Meat pointed out. So I didn't catch it until he did. So good for that. But I like that, they have something very similar right now on that drive-through show on Shudder, except it's in color. But I mean, that like horror power hour kind of vibe that my parents kind of grew up on watching. I like that. It's, it's a nice touch. I love Sid Haig here, man. He is so good. His one-liners are excellent. This back and forth about getting a Planet of the Apes doll stuck up his ass and all that stuff. It just works in that kind of stuff would only work in this Rob Zombie universe. Otherwise, they'd be like, man, what are we talking about here? But for whatever reason, it just kind of works in this movie, in this setting to me. And I know what I don't necessarily disagree with you, Nico, that maybe this clown kind of get up for this character. It isn't his best, but I do like it here. And I think it makes him a little scarier and just a little bit more unique, and this like intro, this like opening credit scene, I'm not a fan of it. Not that I don't like spooky music videos and Rob Zombie music. I do, for the most part, but for whatever reason, I just kind of feel like it's in there for no reason. It's in there to show off his horror music video skills. It's just not it's not my cup of tea. I didn't come here to see surgical procedures. I don't know. For whatever reason, it doesn't work for me. Just a small nitpick. But we get into more stuff that I like, that I kind of already touched on. But we meet, okay. So we get Rainn Wilson, awesome, by the way. And we get Chris Hardwick, who's also awesome in this movie. Like, those two characters, really good. Their girlfriends, on the other hand, what the fuck are they in this movie for? And they are not giving anything to do. And I think it's unfortunate. And I'm not the only person that said this, but they're kind of there to nag, which I think is an unfortunate stereotype. But they're kind of there to be the nagging girlfriends, which they were right. So that's whatever, I guess. But this kind of like thrill ride thing they take them on. I'm not gonna lie. The first time I ever saw this movie, I expected that to be something really sinister and evil. And nope, it's just like you're going on the Haunted Mansion at Disney World. Like it's not a whole lot different. It's cool, but I totally get it. There's some good one-liners in this scene. When they're getting robbed, the fuck your mom, fuck your sister, fuck your grandma. That stuff's funny, man. Like, I just think it's so quick-witted, and I don't know if that stuff was written for Sid, but if it wasn't, good on him for improvising and throwing that stuff in there. I think it works in this setting. Last thing, I think it's hilarious that you get a complimentary bag of fried chicken. like if there's nothing more roadside stand than, all right, here's some fried chicken to go with that. Like, you go to the gas station in the middle of nowhere, they probably got a fried chicken in there somewhere. You go. So that's just something I'm familiar with that I found pretty damn funny. But all in all, I enjoy the set of scenes. I enjoy most of the characters that we've been introduced to so far.
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about a strong opening film debut. Like, as far as a opening set of scenes for someone in their first ever movie to make, I think this is very strong from Rob Zombie here. I like the Dr. Wolfenstein stuff. Like, that's a nice throwback to the old school, like, horror style. I like that a lot. It is kind of funny to see when they get to the gas station there. It's not funny, that's the wrong word, but all the nude photos talk, and they really push the limits with the mentally challenged. It's like they were, that would not fly in 2022, even by Rob Zombie standards, just because like they went heavy on the R word there. So that's some cringe stuff in retrospect, but that's fine. As far as Rob Zombie movies goes, Nico loves the dialogue in Rob Zombie movies anyway. I think this is some of his better written dialogue, though. Would you agree with that? Like, come on, across the board, this has got some okay dialogue, especially this opening set of scenes.
Man, Spalding was cool.
You complimented it. Play it back about 5 minutes ago. You complimented it.
No, the stuff wasn't my favorite, but
yeah. As far as the fried chicken goes, I kind of, the first time I watched this movie, I remember watching it like, okay, there's going to be some kind of payoff. This is going to be like human meat or something. But there's no payoff. It's this legit fried chicken they're giving away. That makes it even more funny to me. Like, I thought that eventually you'd find out that it's not chicken. You're eating humans, but no, that's fine. You get some good dialogue from Spalding here, like you guys said. Fuck your mama. Like, that shit, it's just funny. Like, that's when Rob Zombie dialogue works, and it works really well. We get our first taste of the music video visuals here, as far as the switching, the negatives and the saturated colors and everything. I think it works here, especially because it's just kind of setting the tone from what we're getting to. This is going to be a trippy ass visual. We meet Jerry and Bill, and like Jerry, I wrote, holy shit, look at Chris Hardwick. He looks like Chris Hardwick ate Chris Hardwick. He doesn't even look like him. And speaking of doesn't look like, I don't look like Rainn Wilson. I don't know why someone may have said that I did, but I don't look like Rainn Wilson, especially Rainn Wilson from this movie. Anyway, another thing from this set of scenes. So when we get the man on the TV reading the news about the missing cheerleaders, that's Bill Mosley. That's kind of cool. Like, if you listen closely, you can recognize his voice and his way of talking, but that's his voice we hear, though. That's a nice little piece of trivia there. And then also around this time, as Harrison Young's character looks out the window at the children trick-or-treating, you can see the house that was used in the original Munsters. It's located on the Universal backlot. The house is also used in Leave It to Beaver. That's really cool because, and I've got some more Munsters trivia later on here, but as we know, and here we are in 2022, Rob Zombie has the rights to the Munsters franchise, and he's going to, we're going to get a Munsters movie later this year, which is rated PG. Can't wait to see how Rob Zombie, of all people, pulls that off. But nice little bit of trivia there. I love the store dynamic, or the dynamic in the store between the kids and Spalding. Like, he's so annoyed. Like, why the fuck you asking all these questions? Are you like sci-fi and all this? And the kids are just like typical college kids are just arrogant and cocky and doesn't even know that they may be offensive in their line of questioning here. We get some good back and forth there. I like that. But the whole time you just get this uneasy feeling, or at least I did, especially when they exit the ride and they're outside and Dr. Satan and all this. You just feel like doom is looming. Like Dr. Spaulding is going to be the one that kills these kids in your first time watching. Obviously, we find out later that's not the case, but it does a good job of building that dynamic and making you feel like, especially since we saw Captain Spaulding kill these robbers, shot him in cold blood, mopped up the blood, act like nothing ever happened. So when the college students enter here, it's like, okay, something bad's going to happen. And they do a good job of like leaving us hung out to dry for over an hour before we find out that he may or may not be intermingled with what happens to them. So overall, it's a very strong opening set of scenes, I think.
Oh yeah, it's my favorite part of the movie. Honestly, just cause I like Captain Spaulding. I think he's great.
So you're saying it's all downhill from here?
Basically. All right, back in the car, and the ladies don't want to go see this tree. They see a hitchhiker, and Bill says we can't leave her in the rain. They stop and ask where she's going. She says she's just going home. She lives nearby. Jerry asks about the Dr. Satan tree, and she says she lives right by it, and she'll show them. Cut to Baby saying, if someone needs killed, you kill them. They're driving, and suddenly a man in a bear hat shoots out their tire. Bill asks Jerry if he filled up the spare, but he says he didn't put it in the trunk. Baby turns the radio on super loud and dances, annoying the women in the back seat. She says they can walk to her house. Jerry volunteers, but Bill says he'll go. They hear on the radio about the missing cheerleaders now. Now we hear Otis giving a speech to the cheerleaders who are all restrained. I brought you here for a reason, but you're doing me no good. Oh, Christ. Fuck it, as he turns from them. Baby is skipping in the rain as she and Bill make it to her front porch. She shows him all her headless and armless dolls. The door is locked, so she goes around back. Bill looks around and is jump scared by Baby. You ain't seen nothing yet, as he says, you scared the shit out of me. The ladies turn the radio off saying, you hear that? They turn the headlights on and it's RJ, the same guy who shot out their tires. He's there to tow them. Bill's clothes are drying off and he asks if she lives here alone. She says there's a bunch of us here as we cut to seeing Otis torturing the cheerleaders. Baby sits beside him with some hot chocolate. Baby takes his glasses and tries them on. How do I look? Baby says that ain't the only thing tasty in this house. She's flirting hard with Bill, and the truck shows up with the others. They're watching House of Frankenstein, and Denise asks if she can use their phone to call her dad. They're going to be late. Mama Firefly walks in saying they have no phone, and she sits by Jerry and flirts with Jerry as he asks if RJ can drive them to a phone. She sends Baby to go see how RJ is doing with their car. She asks what are they doing here in the sticks. Mama Firefly says you just think you're too good for the simple pleasures of Halloween. Baby says she saw Tiny. Tiny said he saw RJ. He's going to get them a new wheel. It'll be a couple of hours. Denise asks if Tiny can drive them to a phone, and they laugh at her. Tonight is Halloween Eve, and tonight is special, and you're all invited to dinner. We see two dead cheerleaders on the bed. We're at dinner, and Tiny, a giant human, walks in and sits at the table. Mama gives Tiny a note saying to get Grandpa. They watch a giant man leave. You'll have to forgive Tiny. He can't hear much. His daddy went devil on us. He tried to burn the house down. Tiny was sleeping in the basement where the fire started. Mama says Tiny is a real lady killer. We now see Baby putting makeup on, and she begins to mock the cheerleaders. B-A-B-Y. What's that spell? The cheerleader finally says Baby. We see a close-up of another dead cheerleader. They all have to put their mask on to eat now. Grandpa says they ain't going to let us eat dessert until we put the mask on. Jerry asks about Dr. Satan, and Otis walks up and joins them. He brought a baby in a jar named Leroy. Otis tells him Spaulding don't know shit. Otis tells Jerry he shouldn't know. He should keep his head full of puppy dogs and kitty cats. The family laughs at them now. The clock chimes and Grandpa says it's showtime. All right. Dustin, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I'll go ahead here, man. Like this set of scenes, honestly, it's not my favorite. I don't hate the house dynamic as much as I think you guys do, but it's just I don't know. There's a lot of backstory and like building the moment and the scene that goes on here, but it's just it doesn't feel like it. It feels like you're spinning your tires in the mud. You feel like you're making progress, but really, are you? You're just spending time here. First of all, when we get baby hitchhiking here, it's very, and I gotta think it's deliberate, it's intentional, but it's very stereotypical for horror movies. Like you're driving down the road in a storm, and there's a beautiful girl that's hitchhiking. Gee, this cannot go bad, right? This is going to be okay. No, they pick her up, and she's hot and obnoxious, so it just adds to that. I will say that Sherry Moon, as she was at the time, not Sherry Moon Zombie, I think she crushes this role, man. Like, especially for someone who's not an actress, like someone who this was her first prominent role, and she's just out here doing a character. I think it's great. Now, if the character was written differently, then yeah, maybe not.
I was just going to say, I honestly don't think she acts bad. I just think she's written annoying. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's 100% fair, and I agree she is.
Her character's annoying on purpose, correct?
It's deliberate. Like it's intentionally obnoxious. Like she's supposed to be psychotic. Like she's a lunatic, and it's very evident by that giggle that she has that she's supposed to be that way. But we get the dead cheerleaders, which, spoiler alert, that's going to be my least favorite kill, because we get, I think, 4 cheerleaders dead that we don't see what happens to them. I think we get to see one of their deaths. I may be wrong on that, but we get 4 dead cheerleaders, 2 of them right here. As violent and as gory and as messy as this trilogy is, it's very dissatisfying to see off-screen deaths, and we just see corpses laying with their eyes open, or not even get to see their face, just mangled corpses. Anyway, that's disappointing. We get a really weird dynamic here at the house that I don't like. If you watch this trilogy out of order, like a lot of people do, a lot of people, Nico included, watch The Devil's Rejects first, because it's so highly regarded in the horror community, and it's a pretty realistic plot. People start with that one. If you watch that movie and then watch this one, you're like, who the fuck are these people? Right. The grandpa.
Exactly.
That's not even the same mom, which behind the scenes, there was a salary dispute, which is the reason they changed actresses for the mom. But that's one of my biggest pet peeves. Go ahead.
Do you think, and this is just my opinion, and maybe you agree, you think this is a little too much of an homage to 1974 Chainsaw? Because I do. To me, this is almost too spot on for... It's almost like a parody of it in a way.
Well, and I agree, and I said that when I kind of hinted at that when I said that Rob Zombie. I don't think Rob Zombie knew what his end game was when he made this movie. He was making this up on the fly, and he's like, "Yeah, let's roll with it." And obviously, he drew a lot of heavy inspiration from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I said that when I watched the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. What was that? That was half a year ago or so that I texted you guys I was going to watch it for the first time. Or no, it was, I guess, when we did 3131 last year.
Yep.
So I watched the original, and I was like, holy shit, this has a Rob Zombie feel to it. I get it now. Especially with the go get grandpa, the grandpa character and all that shit. I really wish that he would have known what his end game was and known that it's going to be a Firefly trilogy, or the family is a trio. There are a couple of more characters in the second one that die off, but like there's like 100 members of this family. This is like the Wild Whites of West Virginia in this house, and like it's so unfortunate to me in retrospect, because if you take out all these extra characters and you really have it with Spaulding, Baby, Otis, the big guy, and the mama, that's the only 5 that you need. I think you still accomplish the same goals. And it makes it that much better, especially from a continuity standpoint. Even changing actresses for Mama Firefly between 1 and 2, you can do that. Salary disputes, it's fine. You recast it and you move on. But the fact that there's so many other characters that just were there and then they disappeared, it almost is like The Devil's Rejects isn't a sequel of this. It's a standalone film to me. Anyway, and another thing in that regard is I really hate Otis's look in this movie. He looks like powder. Like he looks like a fucking albino. And then you go to the second movie and he just looks like a regular redneck. And you get to the third movie, he looks like a regular redneck psychopath. He looks like he's inspired by Charlie Manson. But in this first movie, man, they made him look albino. Like I don't know. He looks awful in this movie, but he acts his ass off. His character, to me, is from a 3-movie standpoint. Otis Driftwood is one of the best, and this is a hot take. Maybe he's one of my favorite horror characters of any trilogy. But he looks like shit in this movie. So overall, this may be my least favorite set of scenes because nothing really happens other than we get introduced to all these people and we know that some bad shit's about to go down, but nothing really goes down other than dead cheerleaders.
Yeah, I was going to say this set of scenes falls a little flat here. And again, I like these characters because of the other movies I've seen them in. Like they develop more as the trilogy goes on. And I do look, I don't hate everything that happens in the house. It's really just the last 30 minutes or so. This first hour, I like getting to know these characters and we talked about Otis, great character by Bill Mosley. Like I just think he's so evil and vile, and Devil's Rejects almost make him kind of an anti-hero in a way, even though he commits sexual assault. So that's a weird sentence I just said. But I think you know what I'm getting at. Like he's portrayed as the villain that you're kind of rooting for in a way. And in this movie, he's just evil and vile. And I think he plays it so well. I've got no reason to like this guy. And I love that about the character. Like I think it works. And look, so this is our introduction to Baby, Sherry Moon Zombie. First time ever playing this character. I tend to agree with you, Dustin. I mean, is it my favorite character of all time? No. Is it my favorite character that Sherry Moon Zombie plays? Absolutely not. That would be Lord of Salem. But I even don't mind her as Michael Myers' mom, personally. But this is the character she's most known for. And for her first time acting, like ever in a legitimate movie, she does okay. Now, the character of Baby, I hate. Full disclosure, I don't think the character works. Even in Devil's Rejects, I think she's the worst. Like that character is probably the worst part of the film. But, it's written in a way that's supposed to annoy you, I guess. That laugh is almost, nails on a chalkboard to me. So, and I don't think it's almost overdone to where I don't think it's as effective as they thought it was back in the year 2000. Like, I think it's supposed to annoy you, but it annoys me to the point where I want to shut the movie off. Like, that's kind of how bad it gets sometimes. So, one character I really want to give a lot of props to is Karen Black's character on The Firefly. Like, I think she's so deceptively evil. Like I talked about Captain Spaulding. Like, she's very, flirtatious and all that. So, like, I just really like that character. Like, I wish we had a little more of her in the trilogy. But, obviously you change actors because of pay dispute and all that stuff. But like you said, we really don't get anything happening here. We get a little bit of the dead cheerleader stuff. And I like some of this handheld camcorder footage. I think it works in this setting. We talked about it at the beginning, so I don't want to run long on the tooth on that. But I just think it works for this movie, and I'm okay with it. Last but not least, you get a Sherry Moon ass crack shot here. So, whatever.
Well, real quick before you go again, Nico, I just want to say, like, I agree with what you're saying about Mama Firefly here. The thing is like, they changed, and Leslie Easterbrook did Mother Firefly in The Devil's Rejects. It's not just that they changed characters, like her character changed. In the second movie, she was almost like that naive mother that just wants to she sees the best in her kids no matter what. And that's all it really is. She's just protective of her family. In this movie, House of a Thousand Corpses, Mother Firefly was just as evil, if not more evil. She was conniving. She was seductive. Yes. And so, like, the character itself was written differently, which is, it's so bizarre. I really wish that Rob had known his direction when he made this movie.
And you can tell he didn't, because with the character of Otis, there's no way he designs him to look like that if he expects another movie out of this. No way. When your mutton chops are longer than Lemmy from Motorhead, you got a problem.
All right, Grandpa is on stage now screaming and telling pussy jokes, and Jerry thinks it's hilarious. Grandpa says we got something real special now as Baby comes on stage and performs.
Also, the pussy liquor sign is hilarious. That's a that's a fun Easter egg, man.
Jerry and Bill admire the show, and the ladies aren't having a good time at all. Baby sits on Bill's lap, and Mary pushes her off him and calls her a whore. Baby pulls out a knife and says she's going to cut off her tits. Mama breaks up the fight, and RJ storms in, saying the car is done. They run outside and are told they should leave. Baby jump scares them, and they drive away. Bill stops and goes to open the gate, but two men jump down from the scarecrows and attack him. Jerry gets out of the car to help, but is attacked as well. The ladies watch in the backseat in horror. The men reveal themselves to be Otis and Tiny. Tiny bashes in the windows and snatches them out. Otis begins to bash in the windshield with a baseball bat. He points the bat to the sky and screams. October 31st, Halloween. RJ jumps in the tow truck and hauls Bill's car away. Don Willis calls Sheriff Houston saying he's worried about Denise. She called from Spalding's but still hasn't come home. Sheriff says it rained hard last night. They might be stuck. Mary wakes up restrained and is screaming. Otis walks in the room insulting her, saying he's trying to work. I ain't reading no funny books, Mama. He removes her gag and says if you make a peep, he's going to cut her like a pig and make her eat her intestines. She asks, why are you doing this to me? She asks, where's Bill? And Otis reveals he's been a great help. Couldn't have found a better specimen. It cuts to Bill being tortured by Otis and Baby as Brickhouse by the Commodores plays. His face is cut and his arm chopped off by a hatchet. Can I see Bill, please? Otis removes the sheet, and he's been made into Fish Boy. She says this can't be real. Otis now kisses her, and she says, fuck you, you fucking freak. Detective Waddell and Steve show up to Spalding's. Waddell hits the bell repeatedly, and he tells Spalding he's got questions for him. He shows him a picture and asks if he's seen this girl in the last 24 hours. He says, yeah, but she ain't my type. Spalding says, I like him thicker, more cushion for the pushing. He now tells them he drew him a map of the tree with Dr. Satan. Spalding says they probably got turned around and lost. Waddell grabs him by the collar and says, draw me the same directions. We now see Denise's vision of some skunk ape in a visual. In memory of Dr. Satan, the tombstone reads as she's jump scared. Denise wakes up dressed like a schoolgirl bound to a bed. Tiny walks in to offer her some cereal, Agatha Krispies, but she refuses and cries. Tiny begins to eat, and she begs him to let her go. He unties her, and she thanks him. She walks away and is ambushed by Otis. Where the fuck you think you're getting off to? He throws her in a cage, and I don't know, these other people just pounce on her who are hidden in there. The police find Bill's car now and radio it in. Jerry is bound to a chair, and Baby walks in. Hey, Poopy Pants, what's new? He asks about the others, and she says, shut up, let's play a guessing game. She begins to cut off his hair and shove it in his mouth. She says, guess this right and I'll let you go. If you're wrong, you're fucked. Who's my favorite movie star? He guesses Marilyn Monroe, but it's wrong. It's Betty Davis, and she begins to scalp him. The cops and the sheriff are at the car and unlock the trunk. They find a missing cheerleader naked and hogtied, and it cuts to Otis saying, I hope you like what you see. All right, Mike, go ahead. That's the next
Man,
set
a
of
lot.
scenes I got.
Man, a lot happens in that set of scenes. This set of scenes is a roller coaster ride because this is where we kind of start to get a little crazy. Not quite where I call, almost like cut. Like if you cut the movie off at a certain point, I'm like, all right, I really enjoy that film. We're not quite there yet, but we're getting there. I like this show scene. Like I think it's shot really well. I think that Sherry Moon does a good job of being annoyingly attractive here. I actually really like the scene, and I love, this is the only time that the two girlfriends have any kind of character work at all. And, the way they react to this dance when she's hitting on Bill and Jerry and all that, like, I think it works. Like, I really do. It sets up, some kind of conflict. The line, I'll cut your tits off is something I'd never thought I'd hear in a movie, but hey, here we are. Rob Zombie, baby. But this is the part of the movie where Otis shines. And to me, some of his work as he has her captive, is really, really good. He's, again, just vile. Just no reason to like this guy at all. And you don't like him. I mean, it's just one of those things. And, so we cut back to Spalding, which, by the way, it's been so long, I forgot about Spalding. You know, it kind of,
Mhm.
you know, the last set of scene kind of drags a little bit. So you almost forget he's in the movie. Then you cut back, and the first time you ever watch, and I want to be clear, Dustin, I actually watched this in order the first time I ever went through. So I saw this movie before I saw Devil's Rejects.
Okay.
So I almost just thought that Spalding was all right, that's it. He's done. I didn't know he tied back in so heavily, honestly. So I'm glad to see him. My favorite part, him saying not her type or not his type, was really funny stuff. You're kind of pulling for Spalding, but deep in the back of your mind, like even if it's your first time watching, you know damn well that something nefarious is happening here. And again, Sid Haig toes that line so well. Although this is, some of this, merman shit that they end up making Bill into, I'm not a big fan of. I think the effects look cool. It's a nod to old, like Ripley's Believe It or Not, like the skeleton mermaid things that people used to glue together back in the day. It's kind of a nod to that. That's pretty cool. But I don't think it doesn't look super great. And maybe it's just because it's the year 2000, but it just, I don't know. I'm just not a big fan of the look, but it was, hey, I'll give him props for probably the best nod I've seen outside of Cabin in the Woods. But so I like all of that. Like I think that we're getting to the point where, all right, I'm in. Like, well, I don't know what the payoff's going to be, but this family is creeping me out. It's like the Sawyer family. Like I'm very much in. This scalping scene is probably, in my opinion, Sherry Moon's best work in the film. I think she's just the right amount of annoying, just the right amount of creepy, making him guess the favorite actress, like all that stuff. Props to her on that. But after that, this is where it kind of starts to go, oh no, I don't know what we're getting here. We get a lot of unnecessary gore to kind of wrap up the set of scenes. So that's all I had. Again, I like the movie up until this point. I really do. It's almost right after this set of scenes where I'm kind of like, what we have ventured into some territory that I was not prepared for.
Yeah, I get that. So, just set of scenes. First of all, when we start off with Grandpa telling all the pussy jokes or just screaming into the microphone, pussy, pussy, pussy. It's like, that's the first time I'm like, okay, yep, Rob Zombie dialogue. And
Hey, that's not even the first time we've had that on this show.
No,
pussy. My man, Cheech Marin. What's up, Cheech?
From Dust to Dawn, shout it out.
That's right. Shout it out.
This set of scenes has some weird stuff to me. Like the whole lip sync concert was just strange. Like, is it necessary? I don't know. It does a good job of letting you see the delusion of this family. It's like, okay, this is clearly deliberate. They were preying on these people. They were just looking for someone to pick up and come in here so they could put on this show and this charade. But Sherry Moon's performance there is just really weird and bizarre and out of place. But and then we get the "I'll cut your tits off" or whatever she says. It's like, holy shit, man, that's okay. Then and you mentioned earlier how useless these girlfriends are. Is like that's the only point they served in the whole movie was for her to get offended at this concert, her rubbing all over a man, and then almost start a fight in a psychopath's house and force him to have to leave early. It is kind of weird when he busts in the doors like, "Car's ready, you should leave." I don't know why they did that. That's a puzzling decision on the family's part, because if their whole intention was to kill them, it's an unnecessary cat and mouse thing. Like there's a such thing as playing with your food and making it fun, but like this was just, they literally didn't even make it out of the driveway and they got ambushed. And then if you're gonna have that happen, why in the fuck did Bill park so far away from the gate? Like he stopped the car and then had to walk another quarter of a mile to try to unblock the gate. That shit irritates me every time I watch this movie, because I pull up a little further, man. Damn. Whatever. We do get a nice little, like, I like the scene though, once he's out of the car and they get attacked and, bodies flying through the windshield and all that shit. That's cool. Whatever. Fishboy, I thought Fishboy was awesome, because if it all happen off screen, and then we just see him turned into a merman or whatever you want to call him. Like, it's like, that's lame. But we got to kind of see some granular torture there. We got to see the hand get cut off and him screaming, and looks like he's being tortured before. And then we see the finished product where they turned him into a damn fish boy. I thought that was cool. I thought it was really well done. Shout out to Rob Zombie for that. And last thing, on this set of scenes I want to do is shout out my man Walt Goggins. That's baby Billy Freeman. That's Lee from the show Vice Principals. Man, I love Walt Goggins, so it's just cool to go back and see him take this role on. And I agree. This set of scenes, by this point, you had kind of forgot about Captain Spaulding, and that's what I was saying earlier. Like, I like that when they're at the gas station, you think, oh shit, this clown's about to kill him. He just killed people. And then it's like, oh, okay, they're in the clear, they're free, and then they're back at the house and all this shit's going down. We forget about him, but then we're reintroduced to him. It's like, oh shit, maybe he's not so good. And so I like that. I unfortunately did not watch this movie before I watched The Devil's Rejects, so I knew going in that Captain Spaulding was not a good hombre. I really wish that I didn't have that disadvantage, though, because I would have been like you, Mike. I would have been like, this is a likable guy. Yeah, he killed someone in the opening set of scenes, but he was defending his store. These people are trying to rob him. He's not a bad guy. But, for what it is, where we are at this point in the film, if you know where we're going, it's like, oh, man, I want to like him, but I know I shouldn't. So it's an overall, it's a decent set of scenes, and I'm ready to keep going.
So, really quick, you touched on something that this Firefly trilogy, I go back and forth on if I actually like it or not. So, and we talked about it in our review of Devil's Rejects quite a bit, but just to touch on it here, Rob Zombie kind of goes out of his way after this movie, not in this movie, but after this movie, to make the Firefly family like the anti-heroes of the movies. Even though they're doing terrible shit, they're charismatic and entertaining. You can't help but like them. And I've seen a lot of people kind of compare them to like a Stone Cold Steve Austin. Well, let me just tell you something. in The Devil's Rejects, Otis commits rape. He's not flipping his boss off, giving him the stunner. So, these are not the same things. And so in this movie in particular, this family is not likable at all. And I think going forward, I kind of wish Rob had kept it that way. I really do. Because there's points in Devil's Rejects where I'm like, I'm rooting for these badass killers to keep killing people, especially Captain Spaulding. So like, I watched this movie and I'm like, man, I wish they had just kind of kept the bad guys bad and the good guys good. That's, I guess, I kind of had to reflect on it when I watched this movie this time.
All right, Otis and Grandpa are watching TV, and Otis throws knives at Jerry, who's bound to the wall. Otis calls him a useless fuck and says he couldn't even get in the seat when he's talking about how he'd drive the hell out of his car or whatever. Steve brings Waddell a Coke. Steve says, I hope this guy doesn't get in my way. And I love, Dusty, you're talking about Walton Goggins. He acts like a hard ass, but then once he sees a dog, he don't keep that same energy. Steve brings Waddell a Coke. Steve says, I hope this guy doesn't get in my way. Dawn shows up and shakes their hands. The cops tell Dawn the missing cheerleaders were on their way to play Nancy Drew with Dr. Satan. And now it cuts to Lewis Dover pointing a gun at the screen. I know this man, but I know the truth. You don't have to go to hell. This is hell. And now cuts to the officers driving to the farm in that digital look I was talking about earlier. They make it there, and Nash and Dawn go look around. Waddell knocks on the door, and Mama runs upstairs and tells Otis. He hands her a gun and says, go down and play nice. Cops always run in packs. Nash and Dawn look around and find junk everywhere. They get jump scared by a dog, and Mama Firefly lets Waddell inside the house as he asks questions about the missing girl. Dawn hears a noise, and they open the shed. They find Denise chained up and the dead cheerleaders in the shed. Nash radios to Waddell, and Mama Firefly shoots Waddell in the head-neck area, killing him. Dawn is shot in the back twice as he has memories of his family, and he falls in a puddle face first. Otis has Nash drop his gun and is forced to his knees. Otis puts the gun to his head, and 37 minutes later, finally shoots him, killing him.
I hate that shot. I think it sucks.
It just takes so long too.
Just being honest, just do the damn shot. Anyway, sorry.
Nighttime now, and Baby and RJ are at Red Hot Pussy Liquors getting some booze. He says they're buying a lot. They must be having a Halloween party. It's $185, and she says it won't break my bank, and she tells him to keep the change and buy a new name, goober. We see Otis rubbing blood on himself and getting dressed in his costume. Denise and Mary are now dressed as rabbits, as Otis' name is being chanted by RJ. Otis walks down the stairs saying, "I'm the one who brings the Christmas candy. Who's your daddy?" the rest chant. He is wearing Don Willis's face, and he kisses Denise, tormenting her as he reveals he has Don's chest skin on as well. Otis tells Jerry he's going to let you meet Dr. Satan, the boogeyman. He's all true, and Otis did. I thought that line delivery was great. The Fireflies are leading them out into a field now for ritual. Tiny brings up a coffin, and they put Jerry in the coffin and remove his gag. They like the screaming. Mama kisses him goodbye. We could have been great. RJ picks Jerry up and overhead presses him into the coffin. Mary takes off running, and Baby says, "Let me go get her." It cuts to Otis yelling, "Run, rabbit, run." Mary trips in the field with all these crosses. She hears Baby's voice, "I'm going to get you." Baby pounces her and stabs her over and over, killing her. She now laughs in Mary's face as she dies. "Shoo, shoo," said the maiden. She licks the blood off the knife. Now Denise is placed into the coffin with Jerry. Denise cries out "no" over and over as the coffin is lowered into the ground. They close the opening where the coffin was lowered down. A candle and tape player is lowered below to them. We now see, I have no idea what they are. I think Dead Meat called them swamp zombies. They rip open and destroy the coffin, tormenting the two of them. They now submerge into the water. Denise hears Jerry scream for her as she tries to get out. She sees someone she thinks is Jerry, but the man backs her into another man, and they rip her rabbit costume off. The two walk away after it's ripped off, and the next set of scenes are the ending. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, so there's about a 10-minute stretch in this set that I still enjoy, and then the movie kind of flies into the side of the mountain for me and my ability to enjoy it. So I actually like this knife throwing scene. Like, I think it works. I think Otis, his one-liners are really good. And I even like this cop subplot quite a bit, actually. You know, with Wydell and stuff. Like, I think it's good. You know, you get her. Sorry, I'm really bad with character names, but you get the main character's dad. He's there, which I think plays into something I actually do like in this part of the movie later. But you know, and Dead Meat's the one that pointed it out. But how on the back in the trunk, trick or treat is wrote in the wrong order, so it's like it's like treat trick on her leg or whatever. I thought that was funny as shit. I look, all this cop stuff, and even you enter the room and you get all the dead bodies, and she's hanging there. Like, I think all of that is fine. Like, but then it starts to get into this. Everyone's in a bunny costume stuff, and everyone's kind of like again, and you get the kill of the sheriff. It takes 4 fucking ever to kill this man. It's a gunshot to the head. Just show the shit. Just pull the trigger and do it, man. Like, there's dramatic effect, and then there's like, oh shit, is my movie skipping? Like, am I fucking this up? And the way that I watch this movie, you kind of worry if you've infected your smart TV. You just never know. So, I mean, you get a little worried. You're like, oh crap, and then you remember, oh yeah, it takes him an hour to kill this man on screen. So, I'm not a fan of the shot. I know a lot of other fans like it. It's just not for me. Again, right here is where it starts to get weird. But you get Otis kind of wearing, the dad's skin and all that stuff. Like, I think there's some really, the boogeyman is real, all that stuff. That's fine. But then you get all this rabbit costume and this, I think Baby's real annoying here. There's like weird cult-like things happening. Like, it's like straight out of Halloween 6, mixed with, Texas Chainsaw. Like, I don't know. It doesn't work after this for me. This is where the movie starts to take a big dip. And all like the swamp monster looking things. And I don't know, those feel like subtle nods to Creature from the Black Lagoon to me. Like, I didn't look that up or know anything. That's how it kind of feels. And that's fine. And look, something Rob Zombie I give him credit for is Easter eggs to old stuff. Also, going back to the last set of scenes, I meant to say and I forgot. Agatha Christie's being a nod to Agatha Christie is really fucking cool. Shout out to Rob Zombie for that one. But anyway, all in all, this is where the movie kind of starts to dip like a bad roller coaster. Like, I'm up here. And as the roller coaster starts to go down, maybe I tumble out and get a nice fat lawsuit against, Universal Busch Gardens or something, because this is where I just think it loses me. It completely loses my interest right about here.
And that's fair. Because, to be honest with you, when I see Louis Dover, that part loses me. What the fuck is going on here? Who is this guy? What is the point? I really hate, like, I choose to believe that was something, he's someone that would definitely have a payoff in the director's cut that we never will get to see, because otherwise, what the fuck was that? But, later on, we get more dead cheerleaders that we don't get to see their on-screen deaths, and so these or the ones earlier, take your pick, like, that's my least favorite kills. Like, you're going to talk about them. They were obviously a big story. The news was talking about them, and we see their bodies, but no payoff. Kind of sucks. When we talk about Deputy Nash's death, took forever. 26 seconds, apparently. I didn't count it, but I saw it online. 26 seconds from that scene when the gun is drawn at his head to when he pulls the trigger. I'm all for, man. It is. I'm all for building suspense. Like, once the camera pans out and we're, zoomed way the fuck out, I'm all for it. Leave it there for a second. Let the shot breathe. But then let the shot ring out. Like, instead, we let it suffocate. It just breathed way too much, and it's like, okay, now we got dead air. The Red Hot Pussy Liquors is a funny ass name for a liquor store. That's funny as shit, man. It's a funny ass name for a liquor store, but what the fuck was the point of that too? Why even go here? What the goober and the whole, oh, well, my coworker drew an extra O there. My name's actually G. Ober. And oh, man, like that, it just pisses me off, because it's like, damn it, man, here I am. I defend you, Rob Zombie. I got your back. I can't defend this. What are you doing to me right now? So it's just a really unnecessary, tidbit. And it sucks because Red Hot Pussy Liquors that's clever. That's funny. If it made sense, if it was relevant. It's just like, I can't think of nothing. Here's a joke. After this, we get, Who's Your Daddy? Did they say that in 1977? This film takes place October 30th and 31st of 1977. Was Who's Your Daddy jokes a thing in 1977? Maybe it was. I don't know. But it just seems, I don't trust that it was. I don't feel like that was a common joke or shit talking phrase in 1977. The rest of this movie from this point on, honestly, though, is just about shocking visuals. Everything from this point just gets amped up. This is like when this is when the tab sinks in. This is when your trip really takes off, and it's either going to be a good trip or a bad trip, and you're thinking negative thoughts. So that's how the rest of this movie feels. This is not a positive acid trip from the rest of this way. A lot's going on. A lot of people hate it. I can understand. Both of you guys don't like the over the top and the constant flipping between standard shooting and negative and grainy and all this. I get that. I don't hate it though. Like, it's just, it is what it is to me. He took a chance. He did something different. He made the ending memorable, if nothing else. So I do like Mike, you said you didn't like the rabbit stuff. I actually do like the rabbit stuff in particular, because to me, it just further drives home how psychotic. It drives home the lunacy of this family. Like, this is truly is a game to them. They're bringing them out here and dressing them as rabbits so they can hunt them and fuck with them. Like, it's psychotic. So I like that part. It's just I can definitely understand why a lot of the other stuff is a miss for a lot of people.
Man, I don't think it being over the top is why I don't like it, because we've reviewed a lot of movies that are over the top that I do enjoy, but it's almost, man, this is going to sound really hypocritical considering we cover and give high reviews to a movie with a dream demon that has razors for hand. Like, but I just like, it's almost too unrealistic for me to buy into. And I think the problem with that, Dustin, is something you already kind of mentioned, is the contrast of the first part of the movie. And then we get to this. And if we just had that more Devil's Rejects feel, this movie would be so much stronger to me. Because I do think there's good characters and I do think there's a good plot line throughout. It just really takes a trip down the toilet bowl here, my opinion.
All right, guys, here's the ending. RJ is driving the cop car away, and we see Otis has face paint on now. Tiny places Mary's body on some wood to be sacrificed. Denise finds a tunnel lined with human skulls. She walks down the tunnel and runs now as she bumps into a skull and skeleton, and it falls on her. She makes it to some doors and goes inside this dungeon. I just wrote as a dungeon. And we see a bone chandelier and bones everywhere. She walks into a room where men are eating, and she sees Jerry having surgery performed on him by Dr. Satan. A giant figure that resembles a Cenobite appears and chases after Denise. He swings his axe at her, but misses, hitting and opening the doors. Otis reads, and they light the wood on fire, burning Mary's body. Denise runs down the tunnel, but gets to a dead end. The axe-wielding man appears and shows his red face. He swings the axe, hitting a support beam, and the structure collapses on him, and Denise avoids it. The next day, Denise wakes up, makes it out of the tunnel, and back into the field. She wanders to the road and is picked up by Captain Spaulding. She gets in the car, and he asks, "Sweet baby Jesus, what happened to you?" "I got away." He says, "I recognize you. A whole bunch of people been looking for you." "I got to get to a doctor," she says. She sits back, and then Otis sits up with a knife, and it cuts to Dr. Satan performing surgery on Denise, and the film ends there. Mike, what'd you think about the ending?
I think it sucks. I think it's bad, man. I'll be honest. There is not, and I do mean this, not a single thing I like about the last 18 minutes of this movie. Outside, well, man, I'm going to even say, I'm going to stick with that because we find out that he's wearing her dad's skin before this. So there really isn't anything that I like. You get the Lords of Salem looking painting by Otis. They're burning the body. It's like some weird ritual thing. Like it isn't what I was bought into in this first half of the movie. And so, or not even first 3/4 of the movie. And so you get here and it's satanic, rituals and a room full of skulls. And I guess that's what they meant by House of 1,000 Corpses, but only like 15, 16 people die in the movie. So like, okay, I'm not really sure how many corpses that is, but like, it's just too fanatical, too unrealistic compared to the rest of the movie. I hate it. But the very ending is fine because we get to see Captain Spaulding one more time. But as someone who saw this movie the first time I ever saw it, I was mad as shit that Captain Spaulding was one of the bad guys, even though there was like a little thing in the back of my head that made me think, oh man, he's probably not on the side I want him to be on. But, as soon as she like falls asleep and Otis sits up, I'm like, God damn it. So I don't even really like that. So there just isn't a whole lot that I enjoy about this. This last 25 minutes or so brings the movie down a couple points for me. Because otherwise, me and Dustin may be on the same team here, man. Like there's a lot to like about this movie. It has the same vibe as Devil's Rejects and everything. And then it just takes a complete left turn or a complete right turn. And if this thing was a NASCAR race, this thing makes a right turn and we're not on a road course, brother.
Yeah, okay, but you're wrong though. No, I'm just kidding.
I was like, wait.
So the underground layer that we get here, man, it's wicked looking. So I think the title House of 1,000 Corpses, alludes to the fact that like literally we got a chandelier made of bones. I think this house that's underground is made of 1,000 corpses. So cut them some slack. Yeah, we see 14 deaths in the movie, but that's not all they've killed. You saw the graveyard they're running through, all those crosses. There's thousands of them. Jerry getting worked on here. His head's cut open and Dr. Satan's working on him. That's a shocking visual. But speaking of shocking visuals, man, Dr. Satan and Earl honestly the worst part of the movie to me, especially in the context of the trilogy itself, because they're the only things that are unrealistic looking. You know, Dr. Satan was supposed to return for for the Devil's Rejects. There was actually deleted scenes. He filmed scenes and they were deleted because Rob Zombie was unpleased. It looked too unrealistic. Yeah. Yeah. You could have had a Dr. Satan character. He didn't have to look like he was the fucking crypt keeper. You could have had Earl. He didn't have to look like Red Skull from the MCU. I hated that just because like it went from being a plausible story of a psychotic family in the 70s to now it's like, okay, like none of this could actually happen because people don't look like that. Zombies aren't real and people don't have red pus spewing faces, look like fucking Futurama characters. Anyway, you know, I do like that you know, they build the false sense of security that she's getting away. And she I think Dead Meat said she carries her way out of the ground, her sticking the hand up through the ground, everything crawls out. But you know, you think that, oh, she made it, she's getting picked up by this car, and then we say, oh, it's Captain Spaulding, maybe we can cheer for him. And then Otis sitting up like he's the fucking Undertaker in the back seat. Loved it. I loved that. But overall, the ending was pretty disappointing just because an ending is supposed to be a conclusion, like it's supposed to tie a bow on it, and I don't think anything was really sewn up here. Like there was no bows to be put on anything. It's just like it's almost like Zombie was aimlessly wandering through this film, and it's like, oh shit, how are we going to get out of here? Well, she tries to get away and she doesn't. She gets caught and roll credits. So it's not a really satisfying ending in the sense of a storyline, but for what it is, we get some shocking visuals, over the top, and I can still be on board with it. It's just it did leave me wanting more.
Alrighty, guys. Any more final thoughts before we jump into social media comments and questions?
Let's do it.
Oh, we got a bunch, so big shout out to all of our fans. It means the world that you.
I know this movie has a lot of lovers and a lot of haters. Like I was excited to read a lot of the comments.
Oh yeah, and we'll start with Twitter. Sean Irwin asked, big fan of the show. Shout out to him. He asked, is Otis the best character in this movie? And my answer is no, absolutely not. It's Captain Spaulding to me. I agree
with Nico.
Is Otis the best character in the trilogy? I say yes. In this movie, I say no.
Right. I agree with that. And that's only because Captain Spaulding's not in the third.
Yeah. Honestly, you know, he's only in the beginning because obviously he passed away. He had some health problems when 3 from Hell was made. But even then, I think that Otis is so compelling. Like he's such a Charles Manson like character in the second one. Yeah, he was my favorite character in the second one. But in this movie, it's Spaulding.
Yeah, this one I think it's Spaulding by far. All right, let's jump over to Facebook. Trisha Sparby commented, I'm probably one of the few that actually like Rob Zombie. I mean, his wife is so hot AF. That might play a part. No shame in telling that, but the movie itself is all right. I'm a Rob Zombie music fan too, though. Devil's Reject, I'm not a fan of, and the last movie they made too. I understand. Michelle Mirza commented, I am so stoked for this one. I think it's such an original idea. Great choice, Dustin. Shout out to Dustin. Abby Renee commented, fun watch. I think I watched Devil's Reject before I saw this one, so I was familiar with the character some, but it was definitely more disturbing in my opinion than Devil's Rejects. Bill Mosley is wonderful in both. Absolutely, Bill's great. Samantha Davidson commented, this is one of my top 5 favorites, so I'm very happy to hear you cover it. Sid Haig as Captain Spaulding is iconic. It's such a fun movie. Rob Zombie threw everything he had into it, and for me, it is perfect. Hail Dr. Satan. All right. I don't know. I can't say hell, Doc. I can't do it. I'm sorry. All right, let's change it up a little bit. Eric Doolittle commented, and I can't lie, this made me laugh. This movie sucks. Maybe if I did meth right before watching it, I could understand it more. I hate pretty much every Rob Zombie movie, though, so there's that. I can't stand the trailer trash characters he has to have in every movie. All right. Kylie Denise commented, have tried a couple times to watch this or his other movies, and I just can't. Usually lasts 20 to 30 minutes, if that. Totally understand. Joey Keene commented, Grizzly is to Jaws as 1,000 corpses is to Texas Chainsaw. It just feels like a familiar movie that someone made much better in 1974 on a sliver of the budget. Rob Zombie's movies feel so self-aware that they were made by Rob Zombie. Kevin Potoff commented, "Iconic movie, amazing characters, but the last act fell flat." I think
There you go,
I
Kevin.
think Dustin
Nice,
would agree with that.
my
nice
man.
opinion, Kevin. Good job, buddy. All right.
All right, let's jump over to Instagram. We got a bunch of comments there too, so big shout out to y'all. Dead Noise Blog commented, "All right, guys, I've got a mission for you. Sell me on this movie. I thought the first 30-ish minutes were really promising, but I got lost in the trippy Rob Zombie music video that was the rest of the film. Should I give it another chance? And if so, why?" Honestly,
I
Dead
definitely
Noise,
think you
I
should
feel
give
the
it another
same
chance.
way. I feel the same way, honestly. So I'll leave it to Dustin to convince him to watch it another try.
Well, he should watch it so he can listen to this episode with full context. So just go ahead and
Yeah,
pop it in, brother.
just pop a tab in your mouth and enjoy the ride.
I don't know about all that.
Oh,
I don't know about all that. Well, that might get a little weird. You'll end up on the 6 o'clock news if you do that.
All right. Amy T57 commented with the hand clap emoji. "Yes, this and Devil's Reject. Who's your daddy?" Chris _ 2020. "Have you guys seen all three? And if so, which is your favorite and why?" Yes, we have seen all three because we reviewed all three of them as of now.
Which you can find at, excuse me, Brian, don'tgooutthere.com.
Absolutely. I'll say Devil's Rejects is my favorite of the three.
Absolutely. 100%. Definitely.
Danny CNAP's commented, and she was not nice. "I fucking hate this movie, LMAO. I finally got around to watching it a couple months ago and was disappointed and confused. That being said, I'm glad I finally watched it, so I'm not always wondering what I'm missing. I can't wait to listen to your guys' thoughts. I love Rob Zombie's music, but his movies make me ... sad with the laughing emoji."
Time out. Am I mistaken? Is that who made us watch The Tourist Trap?
No.
No. She must watch
no.
Grave Encounters.
Grave Encounters.
Encounter.
Oh, that's right. Okay, I actually like that one. Shit, I was so ready to shit on her movie. Never mind. Just carry on.
But also, I didn't hate Tour Trap much as the rest of you. But also, are you telling me, Danny, that you don't enjoy the fine dialogue of "bitch, I will call over there and skull fuck the shit out of you"? That's not stuff you enjoy. Come on, brother, sister, mister, whatever.
All right, here's the last comment. Elbow.Tyler commented, "Let me ask you something. How come you asking so many jackassy questions?"
That's a great line.
I just replied, "Captain Spaulding is so great in this. I loved it." All right, guys, that's the last of our social media comments and questions. I don't have any fun facts tonight. Dustin, Mike, if y'all got some, go ahead.
Oh, I got some. I'll go ahead and knock these out real quick. So, first of all, there's more than one instance where you see a poster for two missing young boys in the movie. These boys were actually pictures of Rob Zombie and his brother, the lead singer of Powerman 5000, as children. So that's kind of cool.
When Worlds Collide. Great song.
Yeah. Rob Zombie said amongst the footage that was lost in that was in his infamous lost rough cut of the film, and that he had to cut for the R rating, were a lot more violent and disturbing scenes with baby Firefly, like ones where she showed more of the necrophilia tendencies. The scene in the film where she's kissing a skeleton and touching her breast with its hand is one such scene, and there was more graphic and longer, even ending with her climaxing. But since the MPAA had issues with moments like these, it was cut. Thank fuck, man. God, I couldn't defend that. I think we mentioned that this film was filmed in 2000, but released in 2003. At around an hour and 18 minutes in the DVD commentary, Rob Zombie revealed that Jake McKinnon, the professor, he couldn't see very well in his costume. And in the scene where he swings a real axe at Denise, his vision was so bad that he could have seriously injured her if she didn't move fast enough. And Rob says in the commentary, "We just assumed she would get out of the way." Holy fuck, man. Like, Dick almost got whacked for real. The movie was made into a haunted house for Universal's Halloween Horror Nights in 2010 and 2019. It's pretty cool. The actual house that was used in this movie is the same house used in The Best Little Horror House in Texas from 1982. I hate that fucking movie. I watched it with an ex-girlfriend years ago.
Smells.
Talk shit.
Yeah, it's not a good.
Shout out to Dolly Parton, though.
Yeah, it's not a good film.
That it can be viewed during Universal Studios tram ride. However, during filming, Universal refused to stop the tram tours, causing delays in the filming. Let's see, man, I got a lot of these tonight. Universal Pictures refused to release the film, like I mentioned earlier, because they thought it was going to be an NC-17 film, and so caused Zombie to have to go off and find Lionsgate to do it. There was a scene that was cut in the robbery sequence early in the film where Spaulding pressed the panic button, which alerted Ravelli to the robber's presence. This explained why he suddenly burst through the door in his mask. So that was kind of confusing. If you watch, it's like, how the fuck did he just know to bust in right then when he did? But apparently there was a scene where he pushed the panic button. And the last one I got, I think Mike mentioned it, at around 53 minutes in, The Munsters is playing on the television, specifically the episode where the episode is called Hot Rod Herman, where Grandpa Munster builds a drag racer called Dragula. Rob Zombie releases a track of the same name in 1998. So it's really cool to me that he's been such a lifelong Munsters fan, as am I. Used to watch with my grandparents, and now he's got the rights to the movie. I can't wait to see it and review it.
Really quick, I actually had one, and I know it's out there that's pretty well known. The actor Matthew McGrory, who plays Tiny, is technically the world's tallest actor, at least at the time of filming, a legitimate 7'6". That is a tall sumbitch right there. Anyway, okay, so this movie was made for $7 million, and I just want to say, and I meant to mention this in the scene where the kind of the four, in the basement or whatever, the four kind of falls and it's on that shape. But like the budget shows in certain parts of this movie. Like I'm not saying that it looks bad the whole way through, but there's certain effects and certain stuff I'm like, that looks like you did it really cheap, really bad. But, still it holds up fine. But $7 million. The box office was $16.8 million. This movie got its sequel and the sequel after that because it has a cult following. It's such a beloved movie amongst its fan base. You had to give that fan base more of what it wanted, and Rob Zombie did that. But I don't think it's widely considered a classic, but it's definitely a cult classic.
For sure.
All righty, let's jump into our favorite kill, least favorite kill, and the rating. Dustin, go ahead and read off Brian's real quick, then I'll go.
Yeah, I'll read this for Brother Brian since he couldn't make it here. Let me do my best Brian impression. Honestly, I wish I'd seen this one before Devil's Rejects and 3 from Hell, because I would have ranked them much higher in retrospect. They are exponentially better than this one to me. The beginning is the best part for me, the credits through Captain Spaulding. You could tell Zombie was in raw form in this one, in comparison to his other films that came later. I was a fan of the way he used his jump scares, but the cuts were weird. The story seemed all over the place, and to be honest, the Firefly family didn't seem as diabolical. We didn't know that world. We don't use that word enough on this show, sorry. Than the later installments. The inverted X-ray color scheme didn't work for me and was overused, but again, he was raw, and watching this one would have brought my scores up for the others. But that's my fault. I should have done my homework better. The Dr. Death stuff was a total letdown as well. The build-up to him being the big bad guy didn't work. It's just not for me personally. I give this one a 3.5. If I could go re-rank The Devil's Rejects and 3 from Hell, I'd give it a 5 and a 4 retroactively. Also, Dustin is so much smarter than me. He knows movies far more than I do, and The Descent sucks. It's his words. I don't know.
I know exactly what he said because I saw the thing earlier, and you added that in there. You son of a bitch.
Okay,
The Descent is great.
The last sentence or two was I went off the cuffs, but yeah, he gives it a 3.5.
All right, that's strike 2 for you, pal. That's all I'm saying.
All right, I'll go now real quick. My favorite kill, I chose Killer Carl at the beginning just because I like Spaulding so much in that scene and his line after shooting him. He got blood all over my best damn clown suit. I love that part. Least favorite kill, I chose Officer Nash. That scene took so long, and then Otis just shooting him. It's like, dude, Otis is brutal. Like, shooting him, that's it. I just read it felt cheap. My rating, I didn't say this at the beginning, but like when I worked at a sawmill in Valdosta with one of my coworkers is a huge Rob Zombie fan. He loves this movie. He told me to watch it. It was one of those movies I remember seeing in the video stores and seeing the cover and Devil's Rejects thinking, man, I bet those are super scary. And I turned it off. I couldn't get into it. So shout out to Jeff, my man Jeff. But I just wrote short and sweet. I'm not a fan of this movie or the trilogy. Sid Haig was great, and Bill Mosley was great too as their characters. Other than that, though, there's just not much else for me to like. I'm not going to flame this movie like I did Three from Hell. I mean, I feel like everyone knows how I feel about it. I just wrote annoying characters, especially Baby and Grandpa. Movie looks terrible. I mean, I respect Rob for what he did, but I'm not a fan of it. And then our group of protagonists just aren't memorable. Like Jerry's annoying, and the two ladies, I can't even tell them apart half the time. Rob Zombie's not even a fan, so why would I be? I just wrote better than Three from Hell, but not as good as Devil's Reject, so I gave it a 3.
Sheesh.
All right, I'll go ahead and let Dustin go last for his own movie. Nico, my favorite and least favorite kill are the exact same as yours. I think Officer Nash is my least favorite kill. My favorite kill is Killer Carl, just because I love that scene so much. I think it's a strong scene. And this movie's not full of great kills. I think that's a misconception about Rob Zombie. Like, I'm not saying there's not gory kills in this trilogy. I think Three from Hell has one of the best kills I've ever seen. But this movie doesn't have like a lot of just great standout kills that come to mind for me. So I said it at the beginning, but I'll repeat it here, that this movie's almost 2 movies, or it's like 3/4 of a movie, and then something just happens, or whoever wrote it and whoever directed it decided to take a bunch of drugs. Just saying. Admit, I don't want to accuse him. I'm just pulling your leg, but it doesn't work for me. The last little bit just really brings it down. But I like a lot of the stuff that's very of the same ilk as Devil's Rejects, and even Three from Hell to a certain extent. So I like a lot of the characters. I like that stuff, and I respect Rob for planting his feet in and saying, I'm going to take the charge. I'm going to let if we're playing basketball, I'm going to not move my feet. I'm staying right here. So I appreciate that. He saw his vision through, and whether I agree with that vision or not is almost irrelevant. But since we're reviewing it, I have to give an opinion. So all that being said, and all the I've given my positives and negatives. All that being said, I gave this movie a flat 6.
Okay. So
would have been a 7.5 if the last 25 minutes didn't stink.
Yeah. This movie. First of all, let's do the kills. For a favorite kill, I went with Bill just because, like I said, it wasn't all off screen. We got to see him be tortured a little bit. If it was just off screen and we see his body, because when we see his body in the fish, it didn't look real, so would have been hard to believe. Like, is that really him or is that a model? But since we got to see the torture, I thought it was a cool visual. My least favorite kill, I went with any of the 4 cheerleaders that we didn't get to see dead. We just saw their bodies laying in a pile with their faces looking stupid. The movie, though, is it my favorite Rob Zombie movie? No. Do I respect the hell out of it because of the chances he took and because he was brand new to doing this at all? Yeah. Do I think that can I appreciate it because it sparked a trilogy that I enjoy? Yeah. The Devil's Rejects is one of my favorite horror movies. And Otis Driftwood, like I said, a great character. I do wish that he would have, I can't stress this enough. I wish he would have known where he was going when he made this movie. I wish he would have had stayed consistent with the second incarnation of how they look and the families and, members and everything. I wish that we would have got the Devil's Reject Firefly family in this movie. Sid Haig, God rest his soul, fantastic. Overall, though, I can understand why someone wouldn't like it, but I think it was supposed to be that. It was supposed to be like an homage to a lot of 70s and 80s horror movies shot in an overtop manner that looks like a music video. So for that, I respect it, and I give it a 7. That gives our composite score a 4.875. We're a little off track with IMDb rating, though, because they've got it at a flat 6. So I'm going to blame Nico and Brian for that one.
Wait, I just want to say, who put it at a flat 6? Oh, wait. Me, baby. IMDb, you're smart, and I am the smartest man alive.
IMDb gave Cloverfield a 7. Just keep that in mind.
Yeah, I know. Well, when they're wrong, they're wrong. When they're right, they agree with me.
Yeah, if you want to know how wrong they are, go look up the Babadook on that. Anyway.
Hey,
Yeah, they moved. Yeah, they rated that movie way too high. They were wrong that day.
hey, the best actress in the new Scream movie loves it. So that's all that matters. Anywho, any more final thoughts on House of a Thousand Corpses? My final thoughts, I'll just say real quick. Honestly, if zombies stylistically changed up like the visuals and just kept the family not being so circusy and more terrorizing, or scarier, like they were in like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I'd like this movie a lot more because I'm a big fan of the opening. It's just in the house, it just loses me because it's not they're the family's sinister, but I'm not taking them seriously because they're so, I don't know, I just can't take them seriously. But anywho,
And that's fair. Honestly, though, I wonder, had the entire movie been shot like that, though, I wonder what your opinion would have been. I think that the direction change was so severe that it turned a lot of people off. Whereas if it was like that from the front, and you just accepted it from the get go of what it is.
I agree.
Maybe your opinion would have changed.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm being honest. I would have liked it a lot more because Spalding. I mean, I was invested at the very beginning. But let's shout out our blood donors. Big shout out to y'all. We really appreciate all the support. Camper level reoccurring are Clayton J, Nina, Michelle Mirza, Andrew Ferguson, Carrie Adams, the Horror Movie Crew podcast, Alex Seligson, Eric Doolittle, Sean Irwin, and Adrian Aiello. Camp counselor reoccurring are Hunter Nelson, Dennis Kennedy, Edwin Hernandez Gunn, Joe Swinford, Jennifer Davis from the Too Close to Home podcast, Heather Smith, and Kylie Denise all the way from Australia. That's amazing. It blows my mind. We got donors all the way in Australia. Legendary blood donor. We have film reviews to do. Are Mike Azelson. Final guide donors we have are Christian Cunningham and Matt Sears. Just want to thank all our blood donors so much. It means a lot that you financially contribute because, hey, I acknowledge times are tough. So I appreciate the help. Dustin, do you want to announce your theme for next month and Brian's pick?
Yeah, so I was back and forth on what to pick. Horror comedy was certainly in contention, but I ultimately decided on going with monster movies. So
Just for me, buddy.
yeah, just for Mike. But to kick it off, it's brother Brian's pick, and since he couldn't be here tonight, I'm gonna go ahead and announce it. We're finally gonna get into A Quiet Place.
Good pick, Brian. Good pick, buddy. Really good pick. I'm excited to talk about that one.
Yeah, that movie's a little overdue. I'm excited to do it as well.
Yep, absolutely.
Just want to thank all our fans. We really appreciate it. I really enjoyed 31 month. Really looking forward to that 31 ranking. It's going to be honestly, it's my favorite one we've done so far.
Yeah, it's a really good list of movies. Yep.
I don't think there's really any stinkers in it.
Would disagree on that. Some of the Paranormal Activities.
I don't think any of these movies are, Freddy's Dead bad, personally. But then again, I still got like 5 Paranormal Activity movies to watch still.
Yeah, I'll say, hold your breath. I said, finish that franchise and then come back and see what you think.
Yeah, but just want to thank all our fans and listeners. Really appreciate it. And y'all have a good one.
Chuckle fucks.
Just want to remind everybody.